There is no point jumping into ministry until there is ample demand for you in ministry. Yes, my doctorate is not honorary and it's not a PhD. It's medical. I spent 6 years plus in university to become a medical doctor. How could you have gone through medical school, become a doctor, and then just let it go and say that what you are doing now is full-time ministry? Well, let me tell you a little bit about that. Well, a question that I get a lot of times is that, how did you move from medicine to ministry? Okay, let me rewind. I'm a medical doctor by training, but I'm a pastor, a teacher, and many other things by the calling of God upon my life. Yes, my doctorate is not honorary and it's not a PhD. It's medical. I spent 6 years plus in university to become a medical doctor. And in Obafemi Awolowo University, with all the strikes and so on and so forth, it was more than 6 years before I got my MBCHB. Yeah, medical doctor, medicine and surgery. Woo! Good for me, right? So now I'm a full-time pastor. And so what happens sometimes when people learn that I'm also a medical doctor, they first of all assume that, okay, you are practicing medicine and doing ministry at the same time. Then when they learn that I'm not practicing medicine, I'm doing ministry full-time, and I've been doing so for the better part of 25 years now, 24 years, 23 years, something like that. They're like, whoa, how could you have gone through medical school, become a doctor, and then just let it go and say that what you are doing now is full-time ministry? Well, let me tell you a little bit about that. Before I even entered university, I already had a strong sense of the call of God upon my life. In fact, to the truth be told, I started a youth fellowship in my own house. Before I entered university, I was in Form 5, if you like, of secondary school. At that point in time, I had started this youth fellowship. Young people will come to my house and we'll have this fellowship meeting. And so when I was about to enter university, there was already a little bit of a debate at home where my dad was suggesting that maybe you should go straight to Bible school. My mom wasn't having it. I said, Bible what? No, he has to get a university degree. He has to go to university. And of course, I also wanted to go to university, so it was a non-starter. Then it was between choosing, my options were either architecture or medicine. My dad being a medical doctor, and I having lived in the whole medical scenario all my life, I said, let me do medicine. So that's how I entered in, got the grades and entered in for medicine, and I started to study medicine. But I still had a strong sense of ministry call upon my life. In fact, at that point in time, I had started writing articles. I was writing articles. This was back in the day. I'm telling you, back in the day. I would write articles with a free hand. This was in the 80s. I would write articles with a free hand, and then I'll write it multiple times so that I could give it to multiple people. Then I now got to a place where I learned how to type. I would type my articles onto a stencil. I'll go and roll out these articles and just be distributing articles, my insights into God's word. That's how much I had ministry inside me. And at the same time as I was doing this, I was in medical school. I was studying medicine. So already my parents could see this, friends could see this, that my dad now tells me that he was often concerned whether I would finish studying medicine, thinking that maybe I was going to abandon it midway and just say, what's the point? Let me go and do the thing that I really want to do. But I still had a strong conviction in my heart that I was not meant to drop out of medical school. So I kept on doing this thing. In fact, I became the pastor of one of the largest campus fellowships in Ile-Ife. That's called Christ Love Fellowship. And I was pastoring Christ Love Fellowship as a medical student. I was in the latter years of medical school. I was pastoring this big campus fellowship, and I was studying medicine, studying surgery, doing ward rounds, doing all of it. Looked crazy. In fact, I remember we have this big event, like outreach event we did yearly, which was called JAM, Jesus and Me. The last JAM I did before I left the campus, it fell at a period where I was going to be having major exams. But I wasn't going to stop. So we had jam overnight, late night, and I was going in for an exam the next morning. And that's how crazy I was. And you can imagine all of the concerns for my loved ones that are around me, that he's going to fail or he's going to drop out of medicine, he's not going to complete. But no, sir. I stayed zeroed in. I finished. I graduated. Now, of course, by the time I graduated, by the time I did my housemanship year, the assumption was that immediately after his housemanship year, he was going to leave. But God had already started speaking to me. And he had said to me, I like to say that I have a good head on my shoulders, that I was not to leave practicing medicine until such a time as I could no longer combine both without cheating. That when I would no longer be able to combine both without cheating, that would be my sign that it was time to let go of one. And we all knew what the one was. I was going to let go of medicine and follow full-time ministry. So even after my housemanship, I continued to practice as a medical doctor, and I was doing ministry on the side. The other wisdom in this decision was there is no point jumping into ministry until there is ample demand for you in ministry. Because if you jump prematurely into ministry before there's a demand for what you offer, for what God has put on the inside of you, you are going to have a lot of idle time on your hands. And the devil loves idle time. And God forbid you have this idle time on your hands and yet you have real needs to meet. Before you know it, you are seduced into doing things you're not supposed to do. You are inviting yourself to places that you haven't been invited to because you've got to now find ways of making things happen. You get seduced into doing all sorts of things you're not supposed to do. So you wait till such a time as you know that there is a demand for the call of God upon your lives. There's a demand for what you offer, so that when you step out, you will be fully engaged. So it did come. Soon after marriage, actually, I think I was barely 1 year into marriage where it became obvious to me that the demand for me in ministry and practicing medicine were no longer going to be easily combined. And I had to let go of one, and I let go of medicine. And that was in 2002. 2002, I let go of medicine, and the rest is history. No regrets. God has been good. God has been faithful. What's the lesson I want to drop with you? You can have a strong sense of call of God upon your life, but that you have a call upon your life doesn't mean that it is to be immediately executed. David was an anointed king, but it was many years before he actually was appointed king. So you've got to walk with God and listen closely to him to know the time that it's time now to make that move. Don't jump prematurely. It is a struggle to keep premature babies alive. So wait till it is time. I know it's frustrating, and I've had that frustration of, I have a call, I have a word, I'm gonna give this thing. But hold that tension until it's time, because when it is time, you'll be ready, it will be mature, and it will be a great blessing. But if it is premature, it's going to be the opposite. I hope you take that to heart. God bless you.